Hi everybody. We're going to do a couple of the exercises, the homework exercises on page 51. Exercise number 3A, and our instructions are: use the Egyptian method of multiplication to compute the product. And this is a little bit different than our previous exercises in the sense that in number 3, our multiplier and at times even our multiplicand are not whole numbers. Nevertheless, we will do this the Egyptian way. And our first step, doing it the Egyptian way, is to list all of the powers of 2 that are less than or equal to the multiplier. So here's a power of 2, definitely less than the multiplier. Here's another, and another, and another. All of these are powers of 2 that are less than or equal to the multiplier. And our next step would be, beginning with the largest such power, add these powers of 2 together so that the sum yields the multiplier. So we start with the largest power of 2. We add that to the sum. Then go to the next largest power of 2. If we add this to the sum, though, we're going to break the bank. We're going to get something that's larger than our multiplier. So we don't add 4 to the sum. We go to the next largest power of 2, which is 2 itself, and we'll add that to the sum. Our sum now is 10. Go to the next largest power of 2, that's 1. We add that to the sum, and our sum is 11, which is very close to the value of the multiplier, but not equal to. So what we do now is we start taking powers of 2, negative powers of 2, and adding them to the sum where appropriate. So I'll take 1/2. And can I add that to the sum and get something less than or equal to the multiplier? I sure can. If I add this to the multiplier, I get 11 plus 1/2. I'm only missing 1/8 now. I take the next largest power of 2, 1/4. If I add that to the sum, I break the bank. I get something larger than the multiplier. So I don't add 1/4, but the next largest negative power of 2, 1/8. If I add that to the sum, I'm going to get the multiplier exactly. I'm going to get 11 plus 1/2 plus 1/8, exactly what I want. Now, our next step is to multiply the multiplicand, that's 37 in this case, by those powers of 2 whose sum yields the multiplier. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 8, 1/2, and 1/8. I multiply all of these by the multiplicand. So 1 times the multiplicand is 37. 2 times the multiplicand is 74. 4 times the multiplicand is 148, but we don't actually add that to the sum. 8 times our multiplicand is 296, I hope. 1/2 times the multiplicand. 1/2 times 37 is 37 halves. Well, 36 halves is 18. And we have 1/2 added to that. 37 divided by 2, 18 plus 1/2. Okay. Now we take this power of 2, multiply it by the multiplicand, 37, or equivalently just take its predecessor and multiply it by 1/2. We'll get 9 plus 1/4. But we don't use these, so I'll just draw a line through them so that I don't do something that will embarrass me later on. And then I'll take this power of 2 and multiply it by the multiplicand, or equivalently divide the predecessor by 2. So 1/2 of 9 is 4 plus 1/2, and 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8. Oh, by Joe, I think we've got it. Let's see, we are going to get 296 plus 74 plus 37 plus 18 and 1/2. I'll do the half later. Plus 4. Okay, plus this 1/2, plus this 1/2, plus 1/8. And that's going to get me, if I add all of these up, 430 plus 1/8. Well, that's our product. Now let's do the next one in the series. Exercise 3B. Let's work on that. And here is our multiplier. Here is our multiplicand. Okay. And first thing, list all the powers of 2 that are less than or equal to the multiplier. Well, I'll tell you what. This is the only whole number power of 2 that's less than or equal to the multiplier. And we can definitely use this. We add that to our sum. Our sum is 1. It's less than our multiplier. But right away we have to go to powers of 2, negative powers of 2. So we'll go to 2 to the negative 1. And can we add that to the sum and have it be less than or equal to the multiplier? We sure can. And we go to the next largest power of 2, 1/4. Can we add this to the sum also and have it be less than or equal to the multiplier? Definitely. As a matter of fact, we add these 3 together, we get the multiplier exactly. That is beautiful. So we have 1 plus 1/2 plus 1/4. We have our multiplier expressed as powers of 2, the sum of powers of 2. Now our final step is to multiply the multiplicand by each of these powers of 2 whose sum yields the multiplier. So we multiply the multiplicand by 1, 9 plus 1/2 plus 1/4. Excellent. Now we multiply the multiplicand by 1/2. 9/2, that's 4 plus 1/2. 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. And 1/2 times 1/4 is 1/8. Oh, this is looking good. And finally, we take 1/4 and multiply it by the multiplicand. 1/4 times 9, that's 9/4. That is 2 plus 1/4. And 1/4 times 1/2 is 1/8. 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16. And we add all of these together. I'm going to take the whole numbers first. 9 plus 4 plus 2. Then I'm going to take the halves first. 1/2 plus 1/2. Then I'll take the quarters. 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And then I'll take the 8. And then the 1/16. And I won't pretend like I don't see how some of these add together very conveniently. So we have 9 plus 4 is 13, plus 2 is 15, plus 1 is 16, plus 1 is 17, plus 1/16. Okay, that's the answer to our second one. And let's do part C, seeing as we are definitely on a roll here. Part C. Like the others, we are apply these two together, quote, in Egyptian style. And our first step, list all the powers of 2 that are less than or equal to the multiplier. Well, there's a power of 2 that's less than or equal to the multiplier. Here's another. If we go to the next largest power of 2, we get 4. Oops, that's not less than or equal to the multiplier. So we take stock of what we have so far. We take the largest of these powers of 2 and add it to the sum. Take the next largest power of 2. Oops, if we add that to the sum, we're going to break the bank. We're going to get something larger than the multiplier. So we don't use that. Now what we'll do, since we don't have a sum that's exactly equal to the multiplier, we'll take negative powers of 2. So let's see, 2 to the negative 1, that's 1/2. Can I add 1/2 to the sum? I can, but if I do, I'll get something larger than the multiplier, so nope, I'm not going to add that. Okay, 2 to the negative 2, 1/4. Can I add that to the sum? Yes, I can. I will get 2 plus 1/4, which is exactly what my multiplier is. I add these two together, I get 2 plus 1/4. That's my multiplier. Beautiful. I'm ready to go to the last step, which is to multiply the multiplicand by those powers of 2 whose sum yields the multiplier. Okay, 2 times the multiplicand, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times a half is 1. 2 times a quarter is 1/2. Looking good. And now we'll do the same thing with 1/4. 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. 1/4 times a half is 1/8. 1/4 times a quarter is 1/16. Oh, this is going to be so easy, even I can do it. Okay, we add them up. We add all of these things up, we get 2 plus 1 plus a half plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16. And we can just combine the whole numbers together. 3 plus a half plus a quarter plus an 1/8 plus a 1/16, conveniently expressed in terms of unit fractions already. Okay, so there's our answer for 3C.